changed lead roles. I'm the Technical Delivery Manager here at EORI UK. I'm joined by Robert Keegan, the Trade Solutions Manager. And today we're here to talk about ICS2 and some changes that have happened from ICS1. So first of all, just give us a little bit of an insight as to what ICS2 actually is.
So ICS2 is the upgrade of ICS1. It's the safety and security filing system that the EU uses. Northern Ireland uses it as well, as they're part of the EU customs territory, but GB does not. They still use GB SNS.
Why would EU member states introduce ICS2 to replace ICS1 in the first place?
So ICS, the original system, was quite old, quite clunky. Inaccurate data was often submitted, or data was not even submitted at all in a lot of cases. So the EU felt that they just needed a new system to deal with customs security issues in the 21st century.
And so what are the main changes in ICS2 from ICS1?
So the main change that most traders, declarants, carriers, anybody in the supply chain will feel is the mandatory requirement of a HS code. So with ICS, the original system, it was optional. If you had it, you could put it, but if you didn't, it wouldn't block the declaration. Now a 6-digit HS code is required. If you don't have it at all, your declaration will be blocked. On top of that, the use of stop words. So before, with an ICS declaration, you could just write food, furniture, stuff, and you would still get a response and still receive a filing. It might not be compliant, but you would still receive a filing and you could use that. With ICS2, the system will actually block these stop words. So you must have an accurate goods description combined with a HS code.
So my next question was actually, how does ICS2 enhance security? All of those additional data requirements are targeted at enhancing security.
Yeah, the EU can see exactly what's coming. With the HS code, they can look it up pretty quickly what it is, and then the accurate goods description is there as well. There's also some other requirements. So if the buyer on the seller is different from the consignee and consignor, you must list those as well. That previously wasn't a requirement under ICS. It's the same level as it is under ICS2.
We've talked about the main data requirements. Is there a difference on those data sets between road and maritime?
The data sets are broadly similar. There's some slight differences here and there, and the data that you put into the declaration might go in a different field. But when it comes to it, it's really about the deadlines of submitting them.
Implementation phases are different, and I'm just interested to know on the deadlines of those implementation phases, so between modes of transport or even member states.
Road and maritime are the key ones. So April 2025, they needed to be on ICS2, but member states applied for derogations. Not all, but some did. In fact, a large majority did, to push it back until the 1st of January 2026. Then came along ICS2 final derogations for Eastern European states. They pushed back all the way until 31st of May 2026.
In terms of deadlines for submissions, you've touched on them earlier on, but if you could just summarise the submission deadlines for ICS2.
So for air and long maritime shipments, it's before loading. For containers, it's 24 hours before loading. For air, it's just before it's loaded. For short sea journeys, it's 2 hours before arrival. And for road movements, it's 1 hour before arrival.
Does that differ much to ICS1 submission deadlines?
No, they're broadly the same, apart from when it comes to preloading arrivals for air and container, they've got to be done before.
Okay. You've sort of touched on a lot of reasons as to why ICS2 has changed. A lot of the industry sort of deem it as a bit more complex. Would you agree? And if so, why?
Definitely it is more complex, and it's down to the data requirements. So with an ICS declaration, a carrier could do it very quickly by looking at a delivery note, who it's going from, who it's going to, packages, weight, description. That's it.
Bare bones data.
Bare bones data. And because it's a carrier's legal responsibility to do it, but they don't have access to an import or an export declaration, they didn't need that data. But now it's still their legal requirement, and they do need access to HS codes and accurate goods descriptions that they don't always have.
So we often say here at EORI that data flow is key.
Yep.
That's sort of highlighted here as well. What would you say the other challenges are potentially for businesses making that transition to ICS2?
What I'd say is that they need to provide the data to the party that can submit the ICS2 declaration. So it might be the legal responsibility of the carrier, that's your shipping line for an unaccompanied, P&O, Stena. but for accompanied, it's your carrier, your haulier in effect. But they might not have the facilities to do it or the time to do it. So it's more likely your import agent or your freight forwarder is going to be doing your ICS2 declaration. You need to give them the data instead.
So it is possible to sub that work out. It doesn't have to be the carrier doing that ENS declaration for you.
No, it can be the freight forwarder or your customs agent, but they need to be in contact with your carrier to find out if there's not going to be a dual submission. You might think the carrier is not going to do it, but they actually have done it. Or you might think they are going to do it and they've not done it, so you don't contact your freight forwarder or your customs agent and nothing gets done.
And that comes down to sort of the house level filing that you were talking about earlier on. And generally, how would you say that the rollout implementation of ICS2 has gone industry-wide?
I'd give it a 4 out of 10, if I'm honest. It's been pretty poor. There's been a lot of downtime. At least 2 or 3 times a week, we'll have emails from member states saying there's a slowdown, no responses, BCP, fallback has been invoked. Other times you'll have no messages to say there's anything wrong, but response times to get in an MRN is quite long. With the original ICS system, 30 seconds, a minute, maybe 5 minutes at the very, very most. ICS2, you could be talking 5 minutes on average. On the low end, maybe 45 minutes to an hour on the high end. And for fast-moving freight, it just doesn't work.
You mentioned MRN. What happens with that MRN?
The MRN goes on a port pass if the member state requires it. Not all member states do. Some require it to be uploaded to a port system beforehand, such as RxC port or port base in Belgium and Holland. France uses an ELO, which is sort of a barcode. You scan your barcode before you get on the ferry. However, that barcode isn't complete and can't be used until a safety and security declaration is added to it. So if the system's down, you're stuck unless the member state, such as France, invokes fallback or BCP. Ireland, again, you must have it to use the barcode, but it's not mandatory. It still throws up an error. You can still board, but you get penalised on arrival for not doing it, even though you couldn't do it. Northern Ireland, EU member state for customs purposes, it's entirely optional. So it really depends what border you're crossing.
We've discussed ICS2 as a whole. We've spoken about industry problems and the rollout of it being less effective than desired, let's say. But in general, it sounds a bit more complex and the system itself is maybe not working as desired. Hopefully we'll get there at some point soon.
Hopefully. It's been quite a January.
Oh, yeah. That was all for ICS2. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks, Eve.
Thank you.